Hey, Braden, how's it going?
Hi, Professor. I'm doing okay. How about yourself?
Not too bad.
Um, by the way, that link you posted in the Slack with the download to the vulnerable, um, the vulnerable download,
Yeah,
page is temporarily unavailable. Is there any way you'd be able to throw that up on Zoom or something so we could try and download that file?
temporarily.
Yeah, so like maybe if you have the file, you could put it in the chat and we could download it from there, but I wasn't able to get it from the website.
I'm doing it right now.
Oh, is it letting you?
Yeah,
Okay, let me go ahead and reload.
try that again. Um, yeah, I mean, it's possible that something was blocking it. No, there's nothing in there. Yeah, there's nothing in there that should block you from downloading it. I don't know if that's too big to post. I haven't shared anything like that over Zoom. Let's see, where is, I bring up the chat button. Let me try to share. Temp downloads.
I'll try opening it in an incognito window or something. But
So I'm sharing Stapler now. I don't know if it gets uploaded to Zoom or how long it's gonna. Yeah, it looks like it's actually very slow uploading.
okay.
Yeah. Well, it'd probably be the same if anybody has to. Well, but it would take. I'd have to upload it and then they have to download it. Are you downloading it now?
I'm gonna try to access the site again. I haven't been able to see it yet, so 1 second.
Has anybody else have trouble downloading the Stapler image or virtual machine?
No, I keep getting the page you're looking for is temporarily unavailable. Just try it again. All right.
Okay. Try just Googling Stapler, VulnHub Stapler, and that'll take you right to the page on VulnHub. And then there's a link to a torrent to get it. Although I found the torrents are actually usually way slower than just downloading it directly.
Yeah.
Every time.
Is it the one that was posted on June 8th, 2016, Stapler number 1?
Sure.
Sure. Okay.
I think the one I had was like 1,150, but everything we do today should work. They did update some stuff on Stapler, but that's because basically, and you'll see this because what we're gonna do is really go through their original presentation on it. And they did extra stuff to find information that they didn't actually, need to do because earlier steps had already given that information. So I noticed with the one that's in there now, it doesn't give you the information with the earlier steps. So it's you have to do a little bit extra to figure out what you're looking at. But so there are some differences that make it harder, but everything we're going to do would work on the earlier one or the more recent one.
Okay. Yeah, it's weird. Even when I click someone else's website that tries to link me to that VulnHub, I'm getting that. Let's see. See if I can download this guy.
Well, there's a BitTorrent magnet link there too.
Yeah, I see it on someone else's on a different or on the vulnhub.com.
Yeah.
-1,150. But it's weird. Other people's redirect link where they're talking about it, when I try to click it, I get that same unavailable. So it's kind of interesting. I'm not sure why I'm that issue. Downloading now, although it says it's going to be a while. Ugh.
Yeah. Well, you can follow along, and the what do you call it? The slides that we're going to be following are we'll show you how to access those, right? So you could go back later on once you got it to download. I'm about 45% of having it uploaded to the chat. So eventually it'll come through. All right. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Thumbs up. Does everybody have a working copy of Kali in VirtualBox?
Yes.
Okay. That's what we're, that, and did everybody download the stapler.zip file? Except for Brayden.
Yep.
Okay. That's where I expect everybody to kind of be at today. I know that, what's his name? Ty was going to come in, but he can get caught up. Thanks guys for coming. So here's what we're doing today. Let me go ahead and I'm just going to share. I'm going to share my whole screen. Right. Now, one thing though, when I do this, actually, let me do this. I'm going to say, Peter, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Let me go back. Let me change this. I'm going to make you a co-host. All right. Can you click on the participants link? Can you see that,
Yeah,
Peter?
sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Can you see how Vince is waiting to be let in?
Yeah, I'll let him in.
Yeah, click on it. Just because I have all this stuff on my screen and that really gets in the way. If you could just watch that while we go
Sure.
through everything, that'd make everything a lot easier. So, so what we're doing today is we are going to look at, we're gonna set up an attacker and a defender in VirtualBox, and we are going to root a box. If you ever Google VulnHub, right, and go to vulnhub.com, VulnHub is a website with 1 million different machines on it that you can, play around with and learn different vulnerabilities. And if you wanted to get started, you could search for like easy VulnHub machines, right? And here's one called ridiculously easy, right? For any machine you find on VulnHub, right? For example, what are we looking at today? We are looking at stapler. So you could Google something like stapler walkthrough VulnHub, right? And many people have written up a walkthrough. And this is how you learn to root machines, right? You literally set up these, these virtual machines. You set up your attacker, and you just go through. At a certain point, you should be able to kind of figure it out without, getting up. But even if you figure it out, the closest we've ever done in our cybersecurity stuff was the Metasploit one. And AJ was the only one who really, got really far in that. And how easy was that, AJ?
It was really hard.
It was really hard.
Yeah.
Now, that one is particularly hard because they do kind of a combination of, there's true, like, just root the box, where here's a box, they put at least one path of vulnerabilities, and you got to figure it out. And then there's more capture the flag style, where the different things will give you different flags, and then there's kind of trolling, where they might have they might make it unnecessarily hard just to mess with you because it's a competition. Metasploit was definitely really high on that trolling end. Most of the ones you find won't be. But the easiest way to get started, you're like, I want to learn how to root boxes, right? I want to learn how to do that, is download virtual machines from VulnHub, set them up in VirtualBox, and get going. There are other tools out there. Has anybody here tried Hack the Box yet?
Nope.
Yeah, I did a little bit of it.
So you got in, you got the invite?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Anybody else? So Hack the Box is really good, and in one way it's much better because you don't have to set anything up. They have it all set up. The problem is you have to hack their website to get an invite. And it's not that hard. It's actually stuff, if you've ever really gone through the web exploitation stuff that we've done in the National Cyber League, it's all stuff from there, right? It's low-level web application exploitation, but you still have to do it. And then what I found is the level of difficulty is much higher. It's easier because now they give you like 5 starting point machines and they give you like, you know, walkthroughs for all of them, but still, it's much harder to do Hack the Box than many of the machines you will find. Now, the one we're going to do today is not an easy machine. The one we're doing today is kind of a mid-level machine, but I like it because this is going to be a really good example of all the different steps, right? So if you were to go to the VulnHub website on Stapler, here's where, if you were to download it from them, you could download a copy of it. Here is their description, and they tell you here, you know, how IP is set up, what the goal of this machine is. So not all machines have it set up so you can get root. Some of them you're just trying to get a shell or, you know, do other things. They're telling you this is average, beginner, intermediate, right? A few twists. It should work on VMware or VirtualBox. I'm going to set up on VirtualBox. You know, you all said you have VirtualBox, so you guys should all be able to follow along. They tell you, okay, there's at least 2 ways to get a shell, and at least 3 ways once you have a shell to get root access. And what that means is they deliberately set up those ways. You might find other stuff, particularly this was done in 2016. A thing you're going to notice when we do like a exploit search later on, in their example, they found like 4 exploits. We're going to find like 20 because the kernel is from 2016. In the past 4 years, they found a bunch more vulnerabilities. And we're going to be following the slides here. Now, the truth is you can actually find many walkthroughs for this particular machine or of any of these machines, but this is the one we're going to go through. Before we do that, let's go ahead and go to VirtualBox. So we should have VirtualBox like this. First, we're going to power up. We're going to start up Kali. And if you recall before, if you did it with me in the last hack along, I have Kali set up on NAT network. So if I go here to settings, if we look at the network, you see it's attached to the NAT network. If you go to network and you don't have a NAT network, right? There's no name here. Then what you need to do is go to preferences and then network. And then you have to click the plus here to add the NAT network, right? That took us a while to figure out last time we did a hack along, but that's a really important thing. And the reason you want to be on the NAT network is that allows you to reach both internal machines and the outside world, right? So for any modern Kali image, the username and password is Kali, unless you made your own. And I'm going to kind of leave it here like this so that I can kind of make this the other half of the screen. And I may have to, yeah, I'm going to have to hide your pictures because that's getting in the way. And we'll put you down here and move this over here. Okay. Can everybody see my Kali and my slides, right?
Yep.
Okay. So the next thing we want to do is we have to add Stapler. I downloaded it to here. Oh, I'm gonna get rid of that. So you're going to open up your zip file, however you do that. I'm going to double click on it, and it's going to extract it. And then if I go into it, there's a readme.txt that just says that that's just a document we already looked at online. And in here, you have this OVF file. The OVF file is for importing it directly into VirtualBox. It's got a VMDK file that is for VMware if you're doing that, but I haven't tested it on that. So here on VirtualBox, you click on Tools, you're going to click on Import, and then you're going to browse to your stapler. Click OK, and it's going to click Continue. Now, I always disable DVD and USB controller just because sometimes that gives me trouble and I never need it, right? And then you click import, and it's going to tell you it's going to take a minute and a half. All right, everybody with me? Everybody getting this going?
I'm having trouble, but I think it's because my USB stick is not happy right now.
Oh, you're running this off USB?
I think I should not have done that. Yeah, I was trying to.
Do we have to create our own password?
What's that?
Do we have to create our own password for the Kali?
No, it's if you use the one from Kali, then it is Kali as the username and password.
All caps?
No, lowercase.
Oh, okay.
All right. And when you are done, where is? Wait, what happened to? What happened to my VirtualBox window? Okay, my VirtualBox crashed. That's what happened to it. And yet, here it is. And it will let me interact with that. Okay. How can I get that window back? All right, I'm just going to quit it and start it up again. And it's possible mine crashed. I might be running out of space because I've been playing around with stuff, and I too prefer to run things off of the USB. The problem I was having is I have kind of like that set up as a workstation at my desk, and my wife and I sometimes I have to give her the spot, go handle the kids. All right, so that comes back up. Let me go ahead and import it again. Click OK. Click continue. Uncheck those. Let me make sure that's done. That is done. All right. Let me click import. All right. We'll just let this go for another minute and a half.
Oh, Professor, well, that's going through. I can't get in through the password. I put Kali,
Isn't it root tour?
and then I tried root and then TOOR, and that's not working.
Yeah, that's the old one. And mine just crashed again.
Let me look for another one then.
Hold on. No, let's do this. Power off the machine. So I might have to make some space really quick. But let's do this. Cynthia, can you share your screen with us?
Yeah. Oh, where to go? Sure. Okay.
Okay, so yours is a 2020 box. So it's going to be Kali, K-A-L-I.
For the username?
Yep. And the password is K-A-L-I. Same thing. There you go.
Oh, thank you.
No problem.
How do I stop sharing?
All right, now let me see what is going on with mine. I should have plenty of space. But it's also possible, because I was playing around with this earlier and I did this one. I might have, VMs. VirtualBox VMs. It should be gone. All right, let's try this again. Oh, I should probably share my screen with you guys again. All right. Let me clear those out. So those aren't cluttering anything up. And let me go ahead and sometimes what happens is, let me go ahead and remove that, empty the trash. And let me unzip it again. It's possible that something got corrupted when it got unzipped. So if I go here, I go to import. And I go to save. There we go. And if it doesn't work this time, I'm blaming AJ. Seems a little far. I think that OVF got corrupted. There we go. And I love how they give it like a really descriptive name, VM. So I'm going to click on it and go to settings. And I'm going to change that to Rob Schneider is. Anybody know what that reference is? Nobody gets that reference?
I don't.
It was South Park. Rob Schneider is the stapler. There was a time you guys don't remember. There's a time in the late 90s where Rob Schneider did movie after movie after movie where it was some really stupid concept. He was the hot girl. He was the animal. You know, it was ridiculous. And then the second, so that's not important. You can do that or you can leave it the same. The important thing is once you've imported it, you go to settings and you click on network and you change it from host only adapter to NAT network. Okay? This machine has to be on the same network as Kali Linux or Kali Linux can't find it. Is everybody with me? So just to clarify, I click on that, my new VM, I click on settings, I go to network, it's on NAT network. I click on Kali Linux, I click on settings, I go to network, it's on NAT network. They have to be on the same network and it has to be NAT network. Is there anybody who's having trouble with that right now?
I'm having
trouble, but I'll catch up.
I switch over my Kali to NAT network, although it is running, so let me restart it. But
yeah, and the reason you need the reason it's there's another way you can do it, which is I think more complicated, which is you can put multiple interfaces on Kali and have one pointing to that and one pointing to NAT. The thing is, we want Kali to be able to reach the outside world as well, because we're always running into tools we need that didn't come default, and we have to install them, right? That happens constantly. So if you just have them both on the private network, then it's going to be, it's going to be a real pain. All right.
So I'm still getting an invalid settings detected. Under name, it says not selected, but there's not other options. Would it perhaps be promiscuous mode, allow all, or?
Go ahead and share your screen with us.
Sure, one moment. Okay. Share screen. Go ahead and share the right screen. Sorry, it's I think separating a few of them. Do you see the Kali-Linux-20- settings?
Yeah, so click on name. And nothing's happening? Yeah. So you never created a name network, which you have to do in preferences. So go ahead and hit cancel. Go to file, up in the top left, preferences, and then network, and then click add. And that's what adds the NAT network.
Okay, it was interesting I was able to do it for the VM one, but not for the Kali without creating an error.
Okay, click OK. Let's go ahead and show us your VM one before you start Kali.
1 second, let me make sure they're on the same one. So now my VM has invalid settings.
Okay, so change it to a different network. Yeah, change NAT. Click on the NAT network. Yeah, change it to NAT. Click OK. Yeah, sometimes you just flipping it to a different thing.
I'm still getting invalid settings detected. Sorry, I think this is still enabled. I'm gonna have to shut it down.
Is it running right now?
It's not running, but it's saved, so it's still, I think, technically on. So let me go ahead.
It might be that you tried to change something while it was running. So that's okay. You'll be able to get that going. And yeah, disabling USB is probably the thing that you want to do.
Yep. Let me go ahead and shut that machine down.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and start my Kali. What is that? And eventually it'll come up.
It looks like it was just a graphics error that was causing that invalid settings, but it doesn't seem to be a problem.
Good. All right, log in with Callie. Let that get going. While that logs in, let me go ahead and fire up Rob Schneider. And basically, once you start up that VM, you can minimize it and you never see it again. We never log into it or anything. And in fact, I'm going to go ahead and oh, I guess once I've started it, it's going to show. Oh, well. I'll just minimize that. We don't need that. All right. Can everybody see, finally, now, can everybody see Callie on the left and my slides on the right?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So we are taking a look at Stapler, and this was one designed by VulnHub as a demonstration. And I'm going to say, in a couple of years, you probably won't learn vulnerabilities, and you won't learn it this way anymore, because there'll be so many cloud options like Hack the Box and stuff that you'll just use those. But this is still really good, particularly if you're like, hey, I really want to learn web application hacking, or I really want to learn, enumeration, whatever. Right? This is them saying don't do bad stuff with what you learn. This is them talking about what VulnHome is. Goat Milk, Null Mode, and Rasta Mouse made this. This is saying if you're super advanced, you don't need to do this presentation they were doing. Now, this slide has a really important part on it, methodology. This is a thing, a lot of times people are like, okay, if I want to start rooting boxes, right? Where do I start? These are the steps you start at. You start at host discovery, port scanning, service enumeration, and privilege escalation. Let's see, who just messaged me? Somebody said something. Oh, that's just Thai stuff. All right. So first, host discovery. If I'm going to attack somebody, I need to know where they are. Now, when we're doing like challenges and things like that, that's actually a much simpler problem, because they always tell you, hey, here's the network that you're attacking, right? So you always know who you're scanning. Or if you're doing it like this, you're setting up the machine, so we know we're connected to each other. But in a real attack, that's a really important part, is finding out where these machines are. Once I found the machine, then I got to scan the ports and figure out, okay, what's open? Where are these possible avenues of attack? Once I know what's there, then service enumeration. I know what's there. Let me find out what versions they're running, because I got to figure out the version so I could mount an attack. And they're actually kind of missing a step there, which is getting access. Once I've gained access through that attack, then I do privilege escalation, right? These are the steps in a rooting the box, capture the flag type event. And they talk about the genres of VMs, like real world examples are real boxes that don't have a specific path set up for you, guaranteed to get you through, right? And that's an important thing to practice on sometimes too. Capture the flag style, right? Where it's got some trolls, where they've set things up for you to go a certain way. There is a certain path through, and there are usually flags that you're looking for. And then there's the test bed, which is like Metasploitable, which we set up in the first hack-along, right? Where there's just lots of things to play around with, okay? This is another thing I see people kind of get wrong when they're like rooting boxes. Oh, Nmap, I should use Nmap. I've run Nmap. Okay, what now? You have to think about what each tool does. What question does each tool answer, right? And I've talked about this in class. You should really think about things in terms of questions. what questions do I need to answer, and what tools will do that? There is no magic bullet. There's no press a button and I've hacked it thing that happens most of the time. I will tell you, there have sometimes been magic bullets where there's a particular vulnerability and it's really easy to build an exploit tool, and that exploit tool gets out there to the hacker community. I've seen that sometimes with certain web tools, like web authoring tools. So they literally just run a Python script and boom, they have a shell in your system. But that's very uncommon. For the most part, it's a lot of work. You got to kind of work through each step. And that's what we're doing today, right? So gathering information. We're first, and I don't know why they already jumped to enumeration, right? We've got to, figure out what's there, figure out what we can attack, and then start probing and seeing what vulnerabilities are there. And every time I get some attack to work, I can get more information. Let's actually do this though. So first, let's start with host discovery. Let me open up my terminal. Let's see. Oh, that's annoying. Pamela, what is the IP address of the stapler machine?
What? I just had to run in from the other room.
What is the IP address of the stapler machine?
I don't know.
Okay, how would we find out?
Config?
Well, we can find our own IP address, right? And that's an important thing too. And so sudo ifconfig, and remember the password is Kali, that will tell me my IP address is 10.0.2.15, right? That's my IP address. It doesn't tell me his IP address. So Pamela, knowing what you know, so we know he's on the same network as us, right? So knowing we know that he's on the same network as us. If you were to manually try to find him, how would you do it?
NetSat?
No, because we don't have a connection. That's a good idea. I like where your head's at. What other command line tools have we used?
Drawing a blank.
Anybody?
You said not Nmap?
Well, we could, and that's what we're going to get to. But my point was, you could just start pinging, right? So I could start with ping the first address, 10.0.2.1, right? And then I could do .2, .2. And I could go like that manually, right? But that's a lot of work. And, we have a tool called Nmap that will do it for us. They do mention here, let me go ahead and minimize that. They do mention here a couple of other tools, NetDiscover and ARPScan. And let me just show you really quick, sudo ARPScan. I think I have to tell it the network. So ARPScan 10.0.2.0/24. And ARPScan does the same thing, but instead of pinging every IP address, it sends out an ARP request. Peter, what is ARP?
I don't remember right now.
It's Address Resolution Protocol, right? That's how you map an IP address to a MAC address. So you can hit everybody on your network and say, hey, what MAC address belongs to this IP address? Boom, boom, boom. And whenever we get a response, hey, that's a legit host. The disadvantage to ARPScan is it only works if you're on the network, right? Because it's a local one, as opposed to Nmap, which I can point far away. The advantage is it's much faster and it looks like normal traffic. If somebody is looking at their network traffic and they see your IP address pinging every single host on the network, well, that looks awfully suspicious. If, however, you know, ARP requests are going back and forth. That looks totally normal. So there are some advantages to each. Nmap is the standard one, and you could do, you know, Nmap. And by the way, you need to become familiar with Nmap's options. I every time I start doing anything with Nmap, I always Google Nmap cheat sheet. And whichever one comes up first is usually good enough. And if I have this here and I just search for ping, oh, they don't have the ping scan here, but that's okay. So if I do Nmap and then I give it the network range, which will be 10.0.2.1 to 254. And I just do that. Nmap will do a decent job, but notice how much longer this is already taking, right? So ARPScan has its advantages too. The advantage to Nmap is, in addition to telling me what's out there, it's going to tell me what it finds. So it found, now I'm going to tell you right now, this is our gateway on our DNS server, and you can see it's our DNS server. It's got port 53 open. And 2 and 3 are also, these are all part of VirtualBox's networking. We don't need to worry about those. This is our target. And it says, hey, I found this one. And I found these open ports, right? Anything jump out to you when you see those ports open?
Yeah, the SSH and FTP.
SSH, FTP, and HTTP.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And MySQL. Those are all potential avenues for attack. This one's a little bit harder. What is NetBIOS?
That one's like a Windows thing, right?
That is a Windows thing. So either A, this is a Windows box, or B, this box has a Samba share going on it. Either way, that means that we might be able to do an SMB client type thing and get access to files. So SMB stands for Service Message Block. It's the way that that shares work on Windows, and Samba, which is the Linux tool to kind of plug into it. And the reason that that's important is very vulnerable. There's like a million things I can do. So already this looks like a very promising box, right? And I haven't even done anything yet. All right. So they just talk about how you can discover it, and they're getting different results from us because they're on a different network. So now I have it. Now I want to do a port scan. And the two tools you'll typically use for a port scan are Nmap and Mass Scan. Mass Scan is like Nmap, but super, super fast. So Mass Scan can like, right, hit every port really fast because it can do things in parallel. I don't normally do that just because it's, again, if you were in a real penetration scenario, that looks super shady if you see all that traffic going like that. Relatedly, so Nmap has a million options. One of them is the time options, right? So you can do Nmap with a time option like -T5 is insanity. That means like as fast as you can go. That'll work fine here, and that'll work fine in most capture the flag scenarios. But if you're ever trying to avoid detection, you never want to do a really fast scan, right? Something to be mindful of. The other thing I want to do is we want to save everything that we're doing, right? We want to keep track of it. To do that, one, I'm going to make a directory, and I'm going to call it stapler. and I'm going to CD into stapler, and I'm going to keep all my notes and everything about what we do here. And then I'm going to start a script. Right? So when you type the word script into your terminal like that, what this means is that Linux is keeping track of everything that I do. So if I do ls, if I do pwd, if I do id, right? Now if I do exit, it says script done, file is TypeScript. If I do ls, TypeScript is there. If I do cat, TypeScript, you see, well, it's hard to see because it's showing my terminal, but these are all the things that I just did, right? So it keeps track of everything that I do. I'm going to remove TypeScript and then do it again. So as I run commands, as I see output from different commands, all of that will be stored in there. So if I have to stop, right? Now with virtual machines, I can just save the state, but if you had to shut it down for some reason, you can come back to it later. Everybody with me?
Yes.
Okay. By the way, I don't have my chat window open, so if you're chatting, you know, or unmute yourself so I can hear what you're saying. I don't have room on my screen for the chat. Okay. So T5 is an option that will speed up your Nmap scanning, and it's fine for what we're doing, but just know in the real world it won't work. -OA is also really useful because that's setting output. That's going to save it to a file so we can look at it later. Now, if you do this, if you just do Nmap, right? And our target is 10.0.2.12. By the way, did anybody get a different IP address than what I got?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I as well.
Yeah, so whatever IP address you guys have, just stick with that. And then if you do -T5, you'll see this will go faster than the first time because it is, yeah, because it's going at the fastest rate possible. By default, Nmap checks the first 1,000 ports, which is where most of your action is going to be. But if I want to check out more ports, then I have to specify, and I can do -P and specify like 1 to 10,000, right? Or if I just do -P dash, now it's going to do all ports, right? What is the highest port it's going to check? Anybody?
65535.
Yes.
Or
65535. 60 ports are a 16-bit number. The highest one you can have, all ones, is 65,535. So it's going from 0 all the way to that. The other thing, though, is it's only checking TCP because that's all Nmap does by default. If I want to do a UDP scan, I got to do that. You know, I have to specify that in there. This is usually, but this is a very thorough scan. I'll be honest with you, I probably wouldn't have done this normally. I probably would have started working on one of these. But the most correct way to do it is take your time, let it scan, you know, and don't do it at that insane speed because you'll actually, sometimes that T5 will also throw things off because the server doesn't have time to respond. But notice when I did it this time, okay, it didn't hit those 1,000 common ports, it hit everything. And I got a few new things, right? I got some more NetBIOS stuff. Okay, so we you know, that's part of that Samba server. We had this before. This one's new. That wasn't there before, right? So we did find more stuff. Everybody with me at this point? Anybody got any questions?
I'm catching up a little bit. My IP address was slightly different.
Anybody else? All right. Okay, so that told us a lot of information. We don't have everything about every service here, and we could find out a lot more with other Nmap options. But right off the bat, notice that there's SMB. So one of the main tools you can use if there is SMB, which again, anytime you're attacking a Windows machine, SMB is almost always the first step you're going to use to attack it. And the easiest way to get started with that is SMB client. It's basically a command. So this allows you to kind of get access to the files for the command line. And you're going to do -n, which means no password, because you don't know a password. So you're saying, don't ask me for a password. So this will only allow you to access things anonymously. But there's often a lot you can see. -L for listing. This is just going to list out everything that we can see. And then / 10.0.2.12. And this tells me, okay, it's not telling me the work group. Now, notice their slides over here. It does tell me the work group, and it tells me an OS, and it tells me the server type. They turn that off because that makes other things later on easier. So they made it so you have to discover that on your own. But we already know, and that's okay. So this is telling us, hey, these directories are being shared off of this server. So the first thing I would normally do is see, hey, can I access any of them without a password? So I might do SMB client -n, because again, I don't have a password, and then / 10.0.2.12 / and I would say if you're going to have something that people can access anonymously, it's probably called temp. So let me try that. Oh, and remember, because when you're doing backslashes, you always got to do a double slash. Oh, boom, access. Now I do ls. There's nothing here except for a file called ls, which is interesting. Let me do get ls. Then I'm going to quit it. And we see that I have that file. I downloaded that file ls there. We do cat ls. This might be useful information. It tells me who owns some stuff. Yeah, I don't think I can use this right now, although this hash might come in handy later. So one thing that you can do is you could basically go through with SMB client and see everything you can get anonymously and see if there's any clues there or anything. And I'll tell you right now, in Capture the Flag, they love to leave little clues on the SMB server or on the Samba server. They leave it there all the time. Let's go ahead and take a step.
Professor, is that IPC? What is that?
IPC is inter-process control, right? We could see if we could access it. Let's see. And you would put in the IPC $. It lets us access it, but I can't list anything in there, right? And IPC, I'm going to tell you, usually that's going to be only for processes to save things that they're giving to other processes. So if I have two processes running and they have like a file they have to share or something, like a pipe kind of thing, that would usually be through that. So yeah, I can't get anything once I'm there, but I can get to it. And I could go through one by one and see everything that's there. I could also do what they do, which is enumerate that one particular service a little more with nmap, IP address. Actually, let me show you guys a trick. If you, like me, get tired of typing the same thing over and over again, I'm going to set a variable, TT, and I'm going to set it equal to 10.0.2.12. And then I can just do nmap $TT -port 139 because that was the port for NetBIOS. Dash SV because I'm trying to find the versions of things. And dash A, which A will basically do like 3 or 4 really aggressive things to try and figure out what you're looking at. So dash A is always a good option when you're drilling down on particular services. You don't want to use dash A when you're doing a full scan because it'll take forever. But if I'm like, I know that port is open and I want to figure out what they're running there, dash A. Do 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 do.
Didn't you get like 3 NetBIOS ports?
There are 3 NetBIOS ports. 139 is the one you want to look at, you know, and it can actually be set up to run on different ports. But yeah, 139 is the one that will give me the information. And you see here, it's telling me the NetBIOS name, right? There's no user. Sometimes you get a username out of that. It's telling me that it's a Samba server running on Ubuntu, which if you recall on their slides, they got that here when they first connected, which made this whole step useless. On ours, they turned that off. So we had to drill down to get it, which is good. Now I know if I'm attacking this server, it's an Ubuntu server, and I have to use Linux-style attacks. It does have a guest account, right? Which means which is what I've been logging in with without a password. And it has regular user levels, so that's good for me, not for them. So yeah, not a ton of useful information, but some information I can get out of it that way. Now, if this was a capture the flag competition, to be honest with you, I would keep focusing on this. I would drill down on, I would keep drilling down on SMB, right? On server message block, because there are so many attacks you can do against it. At this point, they shift gears, and we're following their walkthrough, so we're going to shift gears too. Remember how they said there's at least 2 ways to get on? I guarantee you one of the ways, I don't guarantee you. There are no guarantees in life, but I'll bet you one of the ways is through SMB. Of course, they also had FTP open. We didn't look at the version of their FTP server. That might be vulnerable too. So there's possibly other ways. But SMB is notorious for having holes in it. So if you recall, we had, I didn't save it. But if I scroll way up here, notice there was that really high port that was unusual, right? That 12380. Now, there are some, if you see ports like that, that's often also a really good indicator. First of all, for capture the flag, because they made it harder for you to scan for it. So obviously they're thinking, oh, I'll make it harder for you to find, because it's more of a challenge. But also in the real world, those ports are really attractive because it usually means that somebody set something up off the record. It's not part of the standard operation of the server, which often means nobody remembers to update it. Nobody remembers to, it probably shouldn't be turned on. So I might want to drill down on that one. And that's what we're going to do next. So we want to figure out what service is running on this port. What information can we get about that service? And what information can we retrieve from the service, right? Tools we can use here, right? Nmap, Netcat, right? Netcat is kind of the Swiss Army knife of Linux networking. I can get it to do anything. Metasploit, you can use that to tell me vulnerabilities. Derb or Derbuster is one we've used in the past for enumeration. Burp, we're not going to use Burper Zap, but those are also ones. We're also going to use a browser and curl. Who here knows what curl is?
I'm familiar with curl.
What is curl?
The use I've I've used it in the past to send HTTP requests to web servers and get a response back.
Exactly. It allows us to do things that we normally do in the browser and the command line. So I can grab pages or look at things. It's a really nice tool. All right. So question 1, what information can be retrieved by using the service? And actually, how did they? So one thing you can always do is just point your web browser at it. So let's go ahead and start a web browser. Boom, bada, boom. And up at the top, 10.0.2.12 colon 12380. And we get this, sorry, coming soon thing here, right? If you, this is kind of like a first step thing. If you see a weird port, see what you can see with a web browser, or you can try to grab it with curl, right? So those of you who are a little bit more experienced with capture the flag and hacking and stuff, if you do this first, what's going to be your second step? Web applications, basic web application exploitation. First step is go there. What's the second step?
Just inspect element? I don't know.
Inspect element or view source. Yeah, exactly. I'm going to, let me go ahead and view page source and just look for things like, do they have any, passwords in here, right? That's a weird title. Okay, is there anything else in here super interesting? I might look for comments. So I might do, stupid Kelly. So I might do Control F and look for, right, an HTML comment. Oh, what do you notice down there?
It's a message to somebody specific.
If you're looking at this, we want to hire you, right? Notice this here, change the image source with your favorite image. So, okay, this is supposed to be like a temporary placeholder. I might find some other information in there. So the first this is a web enumeration, step number 1. Let's look at the source, right? Or I can right click on it and do inspect element and start looking at things through the console, right? So just gathering basic information about the web page is a great place to start. Now, if you do that, you're not going to find very much, but what about the headers? What is an HTTP header?
It's something that has to come before a request is accepted.
Well, actually, the header's part of the request too. You remember when we were looking at the HTTP exchange in, what do you call it, Wireshark?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What the header was all the other information you don't see on the screen. Like, so it's not the HTML, but it's the, the settings, right? The code, all of that stuff.
Could have like a cookie in it, something interesting with, some kind of protocol. Yeah, it's true.
Exactly. So I'm not getting a lot from the web page, but what happens if I look at the header? Well, down here, I can use curl -k-i then 10.0. Actually, no, I can just do $TT colon 12380. So what's the header say?
Don't look right here.
It says don't look right here. But also it says bad request.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm getting the web page, but I'm getting a bad request. Well, first, let's take a look at man curl and see what those options were. So -k And eventually we'll find there. So dash K is to say, go ahead and get it even if it's insecure. The reason that we have to put that is an indication that there's something going on with security, right? That's an indication that, oh, something's weird going on. And if I tried to run it without the dash K, that wouldn't work. Oh, it does work. It wouldn't work before. And then the dash I says, I'm not interested in the actual page. I want the header. If I get rid of the dash I, it'll give me basically that page source I was just looking at, right? And that's the normal behavior of curl. The dash I gives me the header. So I get a bad request if I go to the web page. That's not normal. Why do I get a bad request? So I probably want, so there's something weird going on here. Let's go ahead and, it seems like this port is running HTTP, right? But maybe there's something else going on. Let's go ahead and map it harder. So let's do nmap, whatever your IP address is, and we're going to specify the port 12380. And again, we're going to do that -SV to get more information, right? We're going to drill down on that. Just like we did for the NetBIOS port, we're going to do that for this outlier port here.
When you do nmap, is it using something from your local setup, or is it pulling down information to work with from that URL?
So nmap right now, oh, that's interesting. So nmap right now is trying to, it runs a series of scripts that try to learn information about about whatever series of ports and IP addresses you give it. So it's sending requests from my machine to that machine. Now,
Okay.
what request it sends, it depends upon your settings. So this is saying, I'm trying to figure out the version it's running here. And look, I did find the version. I found out that it's running an Apache web server, right? But it's not giving me anything more than that. Another tool that you can use to get more information is a map. So let's try a map, $TT 12380. And okay, now it's telling me, okay, I have HTTP and Apache, but also it's running network time protocol and SSL through there. That would be why we're getting a bad header request, because it thinks, hey, there's supposed to be a security certificate here, even though it's HTTP. That's a very common thing to run into. You guys, now there are nmap options that could find it, but AMAP is another tool. Now, who tried to run AMAP and it's not installed on their system? Nobody? It's automatically installed for all of you?
I've been running into some issues since the beginning regarding ports not necessarily being open, almost as if the device isn't on the network. So I've just kind of had to follow along on your guys' screen, and I'll have to reattempt later, unfortunately.
Well, I'm going to come back to you. Let's get your networking working in a second, right? To make sure we're all on the same page. But just a thing I want to point out to you guys: it's very common to run into software that in these walkthroughs where you might not have it installed by default. If that's the case, what you want to do is sudo apt update. Always update first. And then you have to put in your password. And you have to update first because, Kali, if you don't update, it doesn't have the latest versions of all the software, and it's just always going to tell you I can't find it. And then sudo apt install, in this case, AMAP. And it's going to tell me I have the latest version, so it's not going to do that. But it's always update, then install whatever software you need. Okay. Braden, go ahead and share your screen.
Sure, one moment. Okay.
Who's logged in as ZoomBot? There's no ZoomBot.
Okay, so let's see. Are you able to see now Callie and on the left a black box?
Yes. All right. So we're looking at Kali, and let's just go ahead and do sudo if config again just to see it. No, sudo if config.
My apologies, one second. Sudo.
Okay, so you got an IP address we would expect you to have. Let's check to see if you're online. Try nm-online. No space. Okay, you're online. Good. Let's go ahead and try sudo space arp scan space 10.0.2.0
10.0.2.0
/24. No, /24.
Sorry.
No problem. Okay, so on yours, it appears to be 10.0.2.4, right? So go ahead and do nmap 10.0.2.4 -T5. So now we're just mapping it out at an insane speed. And yeah, there you go. You're getting the results we are.
Alrighty. Yeah, I think I was trying to go with my my address instead of its. Okay, I see. All right, thanks.
Okay. All right, let me go ahead. Is anybody else having trouble getting up and running? Anybody else want? Now's a good time. I want to make sure we're all kind of on the same page. What's that?
I'm having trouble, but my computer's running out of space, so I need to deal with that. I'm just gonna follow along until I can figure it out.
Okay. And the nice thing is, like I said, the slides are online. There are some differences, but it's the slide, and actually this is being recorded, so you can refer to this later on too. All right. Let me go back to sharing and All right. So when we do AMAP, we found, okay, there's more going on there, right? Things we wouldn't expect. And that, so now if I go up here, well, what if I put in HTTPS? All right. Now I get a warning because this is an unsigned certificate. So you have to say, I'm going to accept the risk and continue. And then it'll say, hey, internal index page, right? Which just means we've gotten somewhere. Now, and if you could be Googling this and kind of figure out, that, hey, that's a common thing to get bad header requests. If the same port has both HTTP and HTTPS, then every time you get an HTTP response, it'll say there's a bad header, even though there isn't. All right, now we're going to keep digging in this web server and see what's going on. Who here knows what the robots.txt is? Anybody?
Is it for search engine indexing, like Google?
Yes. Yes. So you can often find information by looking at the robots.txt file, which has to be public, by default. So if we do /robots.txt, so this is to tell the search, the search engine. So one, this will accept any user agent. sometimes it'll block. So, you know, if somebody doesn't like Google, they might block Google and not let them search their, you know, not let them index their page. And this is saying, hey, I don't want you to index these web pages, right? I don't want that to show up in your search. I want that on the dark web. So knowing that, what's the first thing we should do?
Go to them.
Go to
Search
them.
it.
Exactly. So let me go ahead and copy pasta. And if I put in the first one, and then I do that. Oh, this could have been a cross-site scripting hook. Don't click OK. Just go back. It did redirect me someplace else. Okay. The other one was /robots. There's another page there called blog.
Was that like a trap for you?
That's them having fun with you, right? That's them
Yeah.
just messing around. But let's check out what's in blog. Ah, got some stuff going on here. Now,
That file, could you log in with that name maybe?
with the name
At
admin,
top? Yeah.
that it's possible that'll show up somewhere else. That's the kind of thing. If you're really doing, like, if you're really studying, you should use like something like OneNote or Evernote or something to be like taking screenshots of things like that and throwing that into a big database. We're not getting that into it right now, but that would be the kind of thing I might save for later. Yes. But this page that we did find, what does this look like?
The blog, it's a CMS entry page.
CMS entry page. So anytime you see
WordPress.
anything that looks like any type of content management system, that's a very good thing for us, because that means that's a potential avenue of attack. There might be exploits people have developed that they haven't patched yet. And in particular, this is WordPress. WordPress is notoriously unsecure because it's all written in PHP, which is impossible to maintain. Now, if your WordPress page is hosted by, like I have a WordPress page and it's hosted by Bluehost, and they automatically update it for me. And it's a good thing they do, because if they didn't, I would never, ever update it and I would be super vulnerable. Just like this page might be. So this looks good for us, right? And the other thing is, if we know it's a WordPress page, there's lots of things we can know about it. For example, it's fairly common to have like WP dash login, or is it log on? Maybe it's login. Yeah, it's fairly common to have a WP dash
WP dash admin.
Is it dash admin?
Yeah, try that.
There you go, right? So this might be a place where I might just hit them with Hydra, right? Or something that'll generate a bunch of, you know, brute force passwords. I'll tell you right now, I would not do that super often in a capture the flag scenario, just because they don't make it that easy, right? But in a real world scenario, it's that easy. You know, you start rock-uing this, you'll get in very often.
Doesn't WordPress usually have a default password to log into it? And like 90% of the time, people forget to change it.
And then if you put in admin 112233, I'm going.
So you think admin 1123?
No, just admin at the top, and then the password is 112233.
That did not work. Good guess. Good guess.
I think admin is what you're talking about. It's like the default when you set this up. The username is admin.
Yes. Yeah. So that's a good place to start if you're going to brute force it. We're going to take a different tact, but that would be, you know, this might be a place where I would stop and start trying to fuzz it. What we're going to do is we're going to see what directories we can find on this website, And now, everybody here who's been in NCL, we've used dirbuster. Dirb is the same thing, except you run it from the command prompt. It is not multi-threaded, so it's not as fast. But honestly, I think it's actually easier because of that. So you do dirb, and then you have to do HTTPS, because we have to tell it that we're talking to the secure side, right? Whatever your IP address is, colon 12380. And then -R for recur. And it's going through it by default. It takes the common word list from Derb. I can also specify other word lists if I want. So it found a page for announcements. It found a page for JavaScript. It found a page for phpMyAdmin. That's often a place we want to attack. It found our robots.txt. It found server status. So it found some things we could attack right there. I also could run that against /blog. And it'll probably find quite a few common pages underneath there. But I don't really need to, because I know it's powered by WordPress, and WordPress has those standardized format. So once I figure out what version of WordPress it is, I actually kind of know everything is. But that's a way I can see. We found WP admin, WP content, WP includes, right? So we found a lot of good stuff there. And let's see if I can. So we found content. Let's see. Can I go right to this? Copy selection. Let me go up here. I'm going to open a new tab and check this out. Okay. Ooh, what do you notice here?
Uploads.
Uploads. Oh. So I'm learning all kinds of fun stuff here. There's actually this is really good practice to be digging around. But if there's a tool, you probably want to use the tool, because the tool's going to do a better job than you will in most cases. Luckily for WordPress, there's WP Scan. There's also CMS Map, which works on a few different content management systems. But let's go ahead and fire up WP Scan and --URL HTTPS, your IP address /blog. Replace that with SCAN. Okay. Doom-ba-da-doom. Now, this is one of those areas where ours is going to differ from what theirs quite a bit, because take a look. They're using WP Scan 2.9.1. We're using 3.8.1, right? There have been some changes. The future is now, old man.
And mine says scan aborted because it couldn't connect to the internet. Do I have to like switch my network adapter or something?
It says scan aborted because it couldn't connect to the internet, or
Couldn't
because
connect
it
to
seems to be down.
Data.wpscan.org.
What's that?
Scan aborted, unable to get to data.wpscan.org. Is that, or I'll just try connecting, I guess.
So if you want to see if you're online, then you do nm-online, right? That's network management online. That's the way you see, am I connected to the internet? Does that tell you that you're online?
Yeah, I get the same thing that you do there. So
yeah. So this is saying the scan abort is aborted because it seems to be down. The timeout was reached, right?
I think it's the port.
Ah, you're right. I didn't put the port in there. So
Could you remind me what the carrot scan was again?
Oh, I mistyped it the first time. So I was fixing. So caret means go back to this in the last line and replace it with the second thing.
I kept retrying the WP scal, and I was like, why do I keep getting the error? I see.
Okay. So now I get the error I intended to get, which is scan aborted. The URL seems to be down. SSL peer certificate was not okay. And this is going to be a common thing. If their certificate's no good, well then this just says, no, I'm not going to scan it. So what we have to do is we have to find out how do we remove that, right? So I'm going to do man WP scan. And I'm going to search for cert for certificate. And this one right here, disables TLS checks. So I'm going to want to add that.
How did you search for?
Oh, slash.
In the man? Oh.
In the man page, it's a slash, just like less, right? Slash cert. And it's a full regular expression search. Now, so it's -- disable TLS checks. I'm going to tell you another one right now because this scan takes a while. And they did it under the old one. And if you do it under the new one, it's not going to find the plugins because by default, it scans plugins passively. So passively means it checks to see if it sees something obvious, but it doesn't like request stuff because it doesn't want to look obvious. So I'm also going to search for plugin. And down here we have plugins detection mode, right? And the options are passive, mixed, passive, and aggressive. By default, it does passive. And I'm just going to tell you when you do that, you're not going to find the plugins. And then you have to run the scan again with that set to aggressive. So we're going to add plugins detective mode as aggressive. So I'm going to copy. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to quit. So I'm going to hit the up arrow, bring back WP scan, add plugins detection mode is going to be aggressive. And I'm going to do, is it TLS scan disable? I forgot what it was. I'm going to copy that so I don't lose it. Man WP scan /cert. So it's disable TLS checks. That's what it was. Okay. -- disable -TLS checks. Okay. Oh, I'm missing a dash in front of plugins. All right. So it's a scanning, it's enumerating all plugins via aggressive methods. It's getting right down to it. So it's telling me so it's telling me the web server, right? Again, we're getting that header information. Dave, something doesn't look right here. I'm not sure what the XML RPC tells us. It's got a README file we could look at. It's got registration, which again, there are potential avenues of attack for registration. WP Cron. It tells me the WordPress version. Let me tell you right there, that's money. Just knowing the WordPress version that they're using is huge because the WordPress version tells me, okay, let's go see what vulnerabilities this version of WordPress had. This tells me, hey, their theme is out of date. That would be a good place to look at. Themes aren't usually big vulnerabilities because that's just how it looks, but that's a thing we could check out. Now it's enumerating all the plugins, and what do you notice about that?
You still have 13 minutes to go.
It's going to take a while. It's going to take a while. So while that's running, does anybody have, I'm going to stop sharing while that runs. Does anybody have any issues they want me to look at while that's going?
I'm still trying to get the most recent WP scan to go. I think oh wait, never mind. I think I just found it. Hold on a second. I think I typed 2 Gs.
I'm still on SMB client, and one thing I found is that if you do a -N-L, it won't work. It has to be -L first before the -N.
No, the dash capital L?
Yeah, yep.
No, it worked. We did the -N first.
Can I share for a second to have?
Yes.
No, I mean if you do a SMB client -N-L, it won't work.
Can you
Okay.
guys, Nelly?
All right, I'm looking at your screen.
Okay.
Disable TLS checks, plugin detection, aggressive. You don't have the port number in there.
Okay.
So after the 4, put :12,380.
4. Okay. 12,380. No space.
No space. Because that's a server. So the 2 Gs. 2 Gs and aggressive.
Oh, so it was right the first time. It just looked weird with the way it gapped. I don't know why I deleted that.
Okay. All right, we're scanning. So yeah, whenever you can find a specialized tool to scan, always use that. Anybody else having any problems?
I'm having some Ruby issues. I did something with Ruby like a couple of days ago, and I don't know anything about it really. I guess that's something with gem files.
Okay, is WP scan written in Ruby?
I don't know. When I do WP scan, it gives me something about Ruby. So
let's take a look at it.
okay.
And by the way, this is a good reason why with VMs, it's always take a snapshot, right? Because take a snapshot because that way you can always roll it back if you hose something up. All right, so it's saying WP scan traceback.
Yeah, I'd read you're supposed to do something with like environments to make sure it's safe, but I didn't do that. So this might be.
So did find, okay, so you must have, your Ruby is not up to date.
Okay.
So Google update Ruby, because I don't know exactly what the name of it is. And don't forget to do sudo apt update for, right now, do a sudo apt update.
Oh, no git. What's the difference between apt-get and apt?
Oh, apt-get is the old, because really, it used to be they were each separate commands, and then they just put everything under apt-get, but it was always stupid. What if I'm not getting something, right? So now it's just apt. If you type apt-get, it's the same.
Okay.
All right, so sudo apt update.
Is that bad?
Okay, so you added some other repositories.
Oh.
Right?
Yeah.
It's okay. It shouldn't. Everything should be okay because the default one is Kali rolling. That's the one we want to get, and that one was a hit.
Okay.
Right. So you should be okay. Try. Oh, Braden got kicked. try sudo apt install Ruby.
Okay. Looks like that's working.
Yeah. So, and this is kind of an issue with if you're doing a lot of programming. It's not so much if you're just using tools that are out there, you don't run into this very often. But if you're trying to like use really specific APIs and things, and they're only geared for certain versions of libraries, so you downgrade it, you know, that's where things get really, really tricky. And again, why it's useful to have a snapshot, so you could always roll it back if you have to. Yeah.
Okay. And if I had used virtual environments for that, I wouldn't be having this problem, or
You're not in a virtual environment?
no?
Okay.
Is that like how it would work? Because that like separates packages, right? For like
Well,
different versions.
no, when I say a snapshot, you can take a snapshot of the whole machine, and then any changes you make, you can roll back to the snapshot, right?
Yeah.
So the
Okay.
snapshots are kind of like a version control type thing, you know, for the whole computer. If you're running it natively, you don't have that option. You just have to, you know, kind of be mindful of when you downgrade things, or usually if you get like a specialized library, you want to put it under /opt and make everything point to that, because that way, you know, whatever you're doing isn't messing with anything else.
Okay. Cool. Thanks.
All right. If we go back to my screen, boom, bada, boom. All right, it finished. And it found 4 plugins, right? Advanced video embed videos or playlists. And ooh, directory listing is enabled, right? Which means I can see what's in that directory. That's always bad for them, good for me. A Kismet, right? Shortcode UI, it's out of date. And 2-factor, right? Which has directory listing. So I have a lot of information here that I could use to go and try to dig up vulnerabilities. And they start right away with the advanced video. So let's do that as well. So Searchsploit is part of the, what do you call it? Part of the Metasploit framework. So when you install Metasploit framework, it installs a whole bunch of things. The console, MS Venom, the whole database of exploits, everything there. So we're going to search Sploit, and this is going to search their files. WordPress, advanced video. And it helps if you spell it correctly.
Also the WordPress.
It helps if you spell that correctly too. And oh, we do have one, right? There's one here, and it tells me that the path is PHP web apps. This. Now, their one kind of shows you the starting path, right? Mine does not for some reason, but we can look at the same thing. So let's go ahead and do less/user share exploit database platforms. Oh, you know what? That's right. It's, I don't think it. Yeah, so it's not platforms, exploit database, exploits.
Can you just use locate?
You could use locate, or you could use find, because I have a full name, but I want to kind of find where all these things are stored anyways.
Gotcha.
So it's, and from here I have the path. It's PHP web apps, and it's number 396. Well, notice this. Watch, if I hit tab twice, it says, do you want to show all 19,928 possibility? And no, I do not. So there's a lot there. So 39646.py. So this explains the exploit. And basically, all this is Python code that does the exploit automatically. And then what they proceed to do is do it manually. And I figured out in looking at it, it's because the automatic one doesn't work very well, particularly because of the issues with the certificate, right? So what one solution is, I could fix this Python file and get it to work. And I could get it to work by going down here to everywhere basically it says like, 127.0.01 WordPress. I could change that to be my path, right, to WordPress. And if I change that there and I change that there, and I uncommented that, then it would execute, it would do the thing correctly. But we're going to do the same thing manually, right? And what I want you to notice is, what does it do? Well, it creates this URL, which is, whatever the path is to, so what I wanted, whatever the path is to WordPress, right? And then WP admin, this is the rest of the URL right there. And that's to upload, that will allow us to upload a file that will execute on the system, right? And that's basically what it explains here. And if you fix the Python code and get it to run, what it does is it will open that URL, right? And it will upload, or it will run wp-config.php. Now, what do you think wp-config is going to tell me?
The configuration of WordPress.
The configuration of WordPress, right? Where are your databases? How do you access those databases? Do you have usernames and passwords in there, right? Where are your files, right? What's server you're running? A lot of information. So this is going to basically execute that file, and then it's going to go grab it and read it and print it out on the command line, right? That's what that does. Very handy to have that all in a nice Perl script if it worked, which it does not. So we're going to kind of do the same thing manually. So I'm going to go ahead and, is my thing freezing up on me? It is, let me quit. All right, let me look at it again. Let me go ahead and, why is it not letting me? Let's try, instead of less, I'm going to try Vim. And let me go ahead and weird. I broke something. Let's see. Can I? Okay. So it won't let me select any text in this thing. Let me see. It won't let me use my mouse at all. All right, let me just do exit. No, exit. I'm just going to open up a new terminal so that I can use my mouse again. If I can. And maybe I can't. That is interesting. So my mouse is totally frozen in this environment. Machine. Okay. I'm just going to reboot the machine. Kali. And eventually I'll get back up there. But basically what I'm going to do here is I'm going to cut and paste that into the URL. And the first time they do it, they give it incorrect path just to see what it is. Hey, here's an obviously fake path inside those square brackets, right? And then the second time they do it, they give it WP config, because we know that that WP config file is one directory up. Kali. All right.
Oh, so that is that exploit for like uploading like pictures or something, but instead of the thumbnail being like a smaller version of the picture, it publishes like whatever file you specify.
Exactly. So it's a legitimate purpose, right? But I can use that to do stuff that they don't want me to do. So let me go back CD into stapler. Tail TypeScript. Oh. Let me do less TypeScript. And 5,000. Okay, I might have hosed up this terminal as well. All right, so let's do grep. So let's do cat. And what was that path? That was /user share exploit db exploits php web apps 39646.py. So I'm going to cat that. I'm going to pipe it into grep, and I'm going to search for 127 because I remember seeing that. All right. So this is the full path here. So let me go ahead and grab that. I'm going to do edit, copy that. I'm going to go back up here. And I'm going to paste it. And by the way, whenever I do this, I always want to make sure I didn't add a double slash. I did not. And let me check theirs. Does mine look like theirs? Blog WP admin. Yes. So right here, the first one they do just to test it is they just do /incorrect -path. And it just says, hey, that didn't work. It didn't do anything. If I go back to blog, what do you notice?
There's a new post.
There's a new entry in the blog, right? And it has this JPEG file here. So let's see if I can get it to do what I want it to do. Let me go back over here, and I'm going to change the end of it to /wp-config.php. Right? So now it tells me, okay, I created this entry 2:30, and now if I do, oh, notice there's a new one here, right? Now I want to see where did it actually put this. How could I find out where it actually put it?
Click on it.
Well, if I click on it, it's a link. So it takes me to the page that it links to. So anybody, what is this right here?
Looks like a picture photo.
Photo.
This is the alternative text. So whenever you have an image in HTML, you always put the alt text there, and it says if you can't display the image, put these words that should describe it. By default, it's always the name of it.
Shouldn't the alt text be a description of what the image is and not just the name of the file that the image is?
It should be, but you have to put that in. Nobody, you know, we just created this, so nobody put it in.
Can you do a view source there?
I can do a view source. So if I do view page source, now the thing is, if I do
a
view
find
page,
on that
yeah.
number.
I can do view page source. I think it's a better way to do it is inspect element, because that'll take me right to what I'm looking at. Now my page is small, so I'm going to, let me go ahead and drag that over a little bit. And so this is what I'm looking at here, right? Oh, I didn't mean to click on it. Let me go back. I meant to click here. So we're inspecting that.
I think you have to.
There we go. So I've gone to that element down here, and it is showing me.
Expand that.
I got to expand that, yeah. And so this is what that's a link to. So if I click on it, it takes me to the page. But this is the image right here. So if I right click on that and I copy link address and I open a new, and I click paste and go. What's that tell me?
It's running the file.
Well, it goes to the file. Because it's called a .jpeg, it tries to display it like a JPEG. But we know it's not a JPEG. It's something I uploaded, or it's something I got them to run. I got them to run the WP config. So that's why it's not.
Oh, okay. So that file's actually the WP config file, but it's renamed to a JPEG file?
It is the results of the WP config file. Right? So what I need to do is I need to grab that. So let me go ahead.
So then you can download it and just inspect it, or
exactly.
put it in a text file.
So I'm going to download it using curl, and right there's the name of the file, -K to ignore the issues with the certificate, and boom, this is what I get. So this is the configuration of Word. And let me go ahead and
save that as an HTML file, then put it in a browser.
I could do that, yeah. So I could do recon.html, and then I can here I can this one is how do I get to the file browser here? It's interesting. How do I get to the file browser? All right, so I'm not sure how to get to the file browser, but I can do it.
Yeah, I think it's like file : / or you can just fire up Explorer or folder or files, then just drag it into your browser.
Yeah, actually, I think if I double click on it. No, mouse pad if I double click on it. Oh, you know what? This won't work as an HTML file because it starts with a PHP tag. So,
Oh yeah.
yeah. So it's not gonna. Yeah, that's okay. You're right. It's not the output of the WP. It is the WP config. So this is telling you the all of the configuration file settings in here. So it tells us the database name, right? Oh. What's that tell us?
Yeah, that's
That's
hard
weird.
coded in that PHP file.
Or
And
SQL.
it tells us that they're using MySQL. It tells us that the user is root and the root password, right? Now, to be honest with you, if their MySQL database is not accessible from outside, that doesn't help us. But if it is, this is gold.
Yeah, and it is because we saw the Nmap.
We saw it in Nmap. That is correct. So
try that MySQL.
So let's go
Kali
back.
has like a built-in
Yeah.
MySQL file.
Oh, I didn't want to open a new one. Let's go back to here and let's do MySQL. The user is root. The password
You'll need a
is
space. Don't you need a space between the -u and the root?
no. Although I think it'll work with a space too. And the host is whatever your host is. Oh, because I did that in the old one. So it's 10.0.2.12.
That's
Boom.
it. Yeah. Show databases.
Show databases. Oh,
Semicolon. Proof. Use proof.
What's that?
Use proof. Yes. Maybe proof is like the, I don't know.
Use proof? What's proof?
Yeah. Proof is a database. Okay.
Oh, the database. Oh, I see what you're saying. Good guess. The next step is going to be, now the question is, can we write to the database, right? And the answer is yes, we can. So what I want to do now, I don't know if root can write to all these databases. If it can, that's a real problem. But if I can just write to WordPress, then I can trick WordPress into running my code, right? Because if I put like a PHP file into WordPress and then you go to that page, it executes that PHP file, right?
Right. Yep.
So if I have a PHP file that will do something malicious, maybe give me like a reverse shell or something, that could be pretty dangerous. So it's 8 o'clock. Let me ask you guys, we've done quite a bit, but there's still a bit more. Do you guys want to keep working on this, or do you guys want to take a break and come back at this like another day?
I've got to get going, but I'm interested in coming back to it.
I very much would like to come back to this.
Give us homework, Professor.
Yeah, I'd like to come back too.
Okay. So your homework is, if you haven't gotten to this point, get to this point, right? If you are at this point, then start following these directions and try to execute this, the rest of this exploit. Now, this does it in a very unintuitive way. So I myself would never have done it this way. I never would have figured out this path. Because what they do is they basically turn some PHP files into hex equivalents and then pipe that directly into tables that you can access. And then they use a tool, MS Venom, MSF Venom is the Metasploit framework. Venom is a tool for developing malicious payloads. And it develops all kinds of malicious payloads. This is just a PHP file. And what you should see is how we chain these tools together. So the exploit, the vulnerability of that particular plugin is not that bad. Okay, so somebody can upload a file as a JPEG. Who cares? Well, what if it's not a JPEG, right? What if it's, what if they can, point to other things on that we don't want them to see? What if they can gain information? And what if we didn't close off our, so you can see as you get more information, you can chain these things together. The next steps are developing a payload, putting the payload up there, executing the payload, getting the payload to call back to our server, and then getting a shell, right? So getting a shell is gaining access. Once you have access, then what you want to do is elevate privileges. If I gain a shell through WordPress, who will I be?
The admin?
Could be web server.
Well, you're not going to be admin because root isn't running it.
Yeah, whatever whatever user the service is running, the daemon's running.
And it's always www or www data, right? So I'm running as www. If I am running as www, I don't have a lot of privileges, but there are many different ways. Once I have that shell, once I have access, there are many ways for me to elevate that, right? So that's the next step. Go ahead.
Yeah. So since you have access to MySQL and there's some MySQL exploits out there, so RCE, is that a viable vector, or is that locked down? Like that's just going down like a bad path?
You mean getting access to the MySQL database?
No, because there's some MySQL versions out there that when you have some type of access, not even root access to MySQL, you can do an RCE, so you can run some commands and eventually get root. Or is it just better to do it via like what this guide is showing?
It's not better, and to be honest with you, next time we do a hack along, we're going to do it by the guide, right? So maybe you want to try to do it a different way. So that would be a good way to do it. Or going back to SMB, right? Or taking a look at FTP or SSH, because we didn't look at any of those. It's very possible that the FTP version that's running is vulnerable. It's very possible that the SSH version that's running is vulnerable. So you can, definitely, there's many different steps along this path where you could go off and check, find another way through. So maybe that would be better for you, is to go out through that. Or for other people, maybe they need more guidance. Or you could go find, if you need more guidance but you want to do something different, go find a different walkthrough, right? Because there's a ton of different walkthroughs of this particular box. And that's the beauty of, having these. So if you just, Google stapler walkthrough, you'll find somebody has found a different way of doing it. And remember they said there's at least 2? That was in 2016, right? So many more attacks and exploits have been developed, and none of these things have been updated since then. So I guarantee you there are other ways to do it. And it might be with MySQL, right? This is a 4-year-old version of MySQL. Definitely there's got to be some vulnerabilities there. So many different ways to handle this. Anybody got any questions right now?
Yeah, can I ask you a question? I'm running Kali on another machine on a persistent drive. Would it be better if I set up the virtual box?
Oh, so you,
Does it matter?
so you mean you have a machine with Kali on your network?
Yeah.
It makes it easier to make them attack each other, yes. Not impossible, but what you need to do is...
I've got VirtualBox. I'll just do that.
Yeah, and
no problem.
The other advantage to getting VirtualBox is you can get it right from Kali, and you get the latest version. Right?
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I have it. I just had it. Whatever. I didn't know what you guys were doing, so I just kind of jumped on something else.
And you know what? It's interesting too that because I was thinking that too. Oh, you know what? I got to get Kali running on my natively on my machine, because I'm prepping for a security cert, like a penetration testing cert. And I'm like, oh, I should get it running so I have it native on the machine. And the first thing they say in their directions is, don't use your own version of Kali. Use the standard one, so that way everything works.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Get it.
You know,
Thank you.
and the only disadvantage to using a virtual machine is performance. So there are certain things where, like, if you were trying to crack passwords or stuff like that, where it might be an issue. But the truth is, it doesn't give you that much of an advantage to have it running natively. Good question. Other questions? All right. So we're going to go ahead and call it a night. Thank you guys for coming to the hack-along. Let's plan to do it next Saturday too. Right? Saturdays work for people?
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah. Nobody's got any hot dates, right? We're all in the same place. So we'll do it next Saturday. We'll finish this one up. And, you know, try other ways to get through and see if you can't, if you can find another way through. So everybody, 1, get to where we're at. 2, try to find another way through, and maybe you can kind of take us through that next week, right? So I'll finish up this method, and we'll see if there are other ways to get through it. All right, guys? All right.
Have a good night.
Thanks a lot. See you next week. Stay safe.
Right.
Bye.